Hey everyone, welcome to Talking with You. Today we have Matt Bowyer. We're going to talk about his life and who he is today and get to know Matt, and hopefully we can expand on his life and his journey to where he is today and his next steps. And he also wrote a new book called Recalibrate, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and hopefully we can share some of his stories to everyone. Matt, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
I know we've been connecting via text, and schedule-wise has been obviously hectic for you.
Why is that?
You are the man.
No, it's because I'm going to prison.
That is true. That is very true. But for me, I really want to respect your time.
No, you've been great. I appreciate it, for reals.
Because for me, family is everything.
Right.
For my company, I've always just valued that, because I lost my dad when I was 15. And there's nothing, if I had a chance to say, like someone said, hey, $100,000, you get to talk to your dad for 5 minutes, I would write that check.
Sure.
In a heartbeat, right?
Right.
And to me, I value those things because life is so precious, and you can never put a dollar to that.
Right.
You just can't amount to say, hey, my daughter's worth $50,000 or my wife is worth, $165,000 or whatever it may be, right?
Right.
It's one of those things, like it's these moments that we all have and we share that we rarely put any monetary to it. Of
course.
But we always value those things, right? And for me, when we were talking and you told me like, hey, sorry, Wilson, like, October 10th, right?
Yeah.
I got to check in.
Right.
And I'm going to be gone. We can do it after. And I said, what can we do to help?
Sure.
And I know you were telling me we got this lined up and this and that. I said, and even I had my own schedule confliction too.
Right.
And we're trying to make it all happen. And I'm glad we made today happen.
Me too.
That's so awesome.
Thanks for being so, adapting to my schedule, which is difficult. But I feel bad because you were in Maui. I mean, it's like, you're having such a tough time. You had to rearrange this vacation with your family,
I did.
My vacation's a little different coming up.
You're right. It is a little different.
But I do view it as a vacation because it's a challenge and an obstacle that I have to overcome. But it's all in your mind. So
yeah.
For me, it's a tough moment. But that being said, I have to look at it as a positive. What am I going to gain from this? And most people go to prison and they're like, oh my God, it's this. And I mean, I have some of those feelings and emotions, but for me, it's like, it's a challenge. And I'm actually excited not to be away from my wife and kids. That's going to be the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life.
I bet.
But the challenge will be, now I get to go in an environment that's completely different. I've never been. And now I'm going to learn from some people, good and bad. And I'll have to adapt to some people that I really don't want to be next to or around. And an environment where I'm told what to do, which has been a long time since I've been that. I've been very white gloved for the last 30 years of my life because I've earned that, legally and illegally. And it's going to be interesting to have to wake up and be told what time you get up and be counted 3 or 4 times a day, and you can't do this, and you got to eat this crappy food. But it's kind of good. It's a reset. It's humbling to remind myself of where I came from.
You brought up a good point. You have this lifestyle, right? Or what you've kind of, endured,
Sure.
in where you're at. Let's talk about your younger days.
Yeah.
How at what point, Matt says, hey, I'm going to go into bookmaking, or, what led up to that, or what did you do at a younger age to say, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
I think actually I was thrust into it by fight or flight. And I say that because my dad and my mom were very successful. My dad was an entrepreneur. He owned a bail bonds company, ironically, called Bowyer Bail Bonds, which I would have had to call in my situation. But anyway, I'm kidding, because mine's a federal case. But they were bailing people out of jail. My dad was running a very successful company there, and then he had an air tool supply company. So back then there was no internet, and he had yellow pages. That was how we ran ads back then. So,
oh yeah.
So the more you spend, the bigger the ad, et cetera. And he would spend quite a bit and be all over the plastered all the yellow pages. So to do that, he had to stay home because we had a home office, and he would wait for the phone to ring. So he was a Vietnam War vet, and kind of developed, started drinking, etc. And then being bored, I'm going to call it more than anything, because he was very sharp. Running his businesses, he just sat around and drank all day, even though he was very successful. And he was a very functional alcoholic. So that progressed drastically. And then when I was 12 years old, after about 3 rehabs, my mom was done. She had enough. I mean, we tried to help him every which way. He would drink 40 beers a day, roughly 3 packs of cigarettes.
A day?
A day. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, because we would collect cans. Mm-hmm. It was like a chore my dad would make us do to earn the grind, even though we had a very middle-class family, but like we were pretty spoiled kids, to be honest. So he was a military guy, so we'd have to, instead of mopping the floors, we'd get down and scrub the floors with a wet towel and in the sink, and and collecting cans was a requirement because it was a chore. It was more about the chore, it wasn't about the money. But my dad drank so many beers, when we would load up the car to go turn in the cans, I mean, we had trash bags full of cans. You could only imagine, 40 a day, right? So the reason I say that is because it really, as a kid, I was like, damn, man, my dad drinks a lot of beers. I knew it, but it was like even more astounding to look at these trash bags, and we would use this little, back then, you probably remember, they had these little things, a can crusher.
Yeah.
And so these cans were suppressed, and it was still bags of trash bags of Budweiser. That's what my dad drank. Anyway, so my parents, okay, so there you go. So my parents, it was my mom was done. Yeah. So what happened was, we were the kids, like if I played in a basketball league, or I wrestled, I played football, I played a lot of sports, we would always get, you want a new glove, you want a new basketball?
Yeah.
Never a concern. You want new shoes? And we were the kids that got everything. And then when that occurred, all of a sudden, my dad was gone out of the house, got kicked out, so to speak. My mom was running the house. I have 3 brothers. So to keep 4 boys in this fairly nice home and this lifestyle was really a struggle. So now it's like the rug just got pulled. But for me, it was great, because it taught me to go hustle and earn and figure it out. So I didn't even understand I was becoming an entrepreneur. It was fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me.
What you brought up, it's similar with my dad. He passed away at the age of 50. I mean, just young.
Yeah.
Young. And same situation. He smoked a lot, Marlboro Reds.
Mine was Marlboro Reds too.
Budweiser, and same thing. My dad would just say, "Hey, go smash the cans."
Wow.
And I would do the same thing, and I would look at it. I'm going, "Oh my God, like this is crazy. Like I can't amount to this."
Right.
And he passed away due to cancer. His liver stopped functioning, and
was it because of the drinking?
Drinking and the smoking just really caught up to him. It went from liver to lung.
Okay.
Both just kind of like shut everything down. And I remember the day I was at the hospital, and they called a code blue in his room, and I was in the basement at the cafeteria, and I hightailed it up 4 floors to go see him. It's just seeing him there was like my last kind of like eye contact, right, with him. And that set me off for myself to, I went off to college at San Jose State for 3 days, after he passed away, and I graduated high school, and my dad wasn't able to see that. And he's obviously wasn't able to see like my kids, and marriage and the whole deal.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of big parts of your life.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I look back at it and I'm going, man, it's crazy, to kind of see that. And I've learned a lot from that.
Sure.
And to where when I went to San Jose State, went for 3 days, called home, mom says, I asked her, "Hey, Mom, you okay?" I knew. So I packed up, came back, and just started working, and then slowly, kind of got myself into the industry. And then same thing, be an entrepreneur,
wow,
thinking outside the box. How can I, be successful for my family? Because when you lose a father figure,
right,
there's a void.
Of course.
And try to put all that together. So, it's one of those things that, it motivated me. Like one guy has always told me, and I remember this to this day, they always said, like, you can't promote motivation. Motivation comes from within.
Well said.
Right? Yeah. And so I use that a lot because I'm going like, well, Wilson, if you're not going to go do it, who's going to go do it?
Nobody.
Right? Yeah. And so you gotta go kick your own destiny and drive it, right? So that's That's I can relate to that. On how you had to start at a young age and grind.
We have a lot of similarities. My dad was Marlboro Red Box, died at 55, very young as well.
Oh.
Cancer as well, all from smoking, drinking, etc. Agent Orange from Vietnam. But that's wild that we have these similarities.
Yeah.
I'm 3 years older than you, so it's really like almost the same time frame we grew up. Like obviously same era, which is wild, and there's a lot of similarities. But I can tell you're right about this. There's nobody coming to save you. Like whatever we do, it's on us as a father, as a husband, as a provider, right? So that same issue that you went through as far as coming home and grinding and figuring it out probably was one of the best things that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started to just go at it, and say, hey, I got to figure a way to make money and all that. At what point did you have any failures going, man, this is too much for me? Or was it like, hey, you know what? I like this. This is my jam.
I would say both, and to this day, it's both. I can tell you that I'll speak about now. I jump in my I have an infrared sauna. I have like I'm going to call it a little mini spa in our home. Okay. So I have an infrared sauna and a cold plunge, and it's like my room, a sanctuary of going in there, like kind of being a little bitch, just go in there and cry. You know what I mean? Like it's my moment to myself. I flip on my infrared sauna. I'm in there for an hour. And that's actually the comforting part because it's hot, but it's comfortable. And I sit in there for an hour, and I'm on my phone until it gets too hot, and then I got to toss it out because it shuts down. And in that hour is like my processing in my mind. It's usually like 3:34 in the morning because I don't sleep very well anymore. And it's like that. I go back and forth, man. Wow, I can't believe what I'm going through. Poor me. I'm not a victim, so I don't ever think that. But I'm like, wow, this is tough. 5 kids. $11 million to the IRS, just paid $1.7 million. Man, I used to make $1 million, $1.5 million a month in cash. I had all these fancy cars. I had this amazing life. And then I think about it. I'm like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? Like, why are you being a little? I mean, these are the conversation I'm having with myself.
Right.
Like, you're a little bitch. What are you bitching about? This is the time to go. Now it's time to go do it again. And guess what? You got to smile at that thing. You got to smile at adversity. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, This don't faze me. This is nothing. This is another challenge, another hurdle to overcome. And guess what? When I walk out of prison, the new life starts where I get to rebuild again.
Right.
And guess what? It's all about the journey anyway.
True.
Like everyone focuses on the destination, and of course that's what drives.
That's the glory or the yeah.
But when you get there, if you don't have the journey and the grind and all of the work to get there, then that destination doesn't mean shit.
True.
I mean, if someone hands it to you, what does it feel like?
Right.
It's great because it's handed to you and you're appreciative, but do you really appreciate it?
Yeah.
No, you appreciate all the work in getting there. My wife and I, we just went to Hawaii too about 8 months ago. I'm no longer allowed to travel right now, but only in California. That's why I came to see you. So in Hawaii, we landed, and mind you, you read my book. I've been everywhere.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, I only talk about some of the stuff.
Right.
I can only write so big of a book. I've been everywhere, literally, and it's crazy some of the places we've been, on these extravagant vacations, and penthouses that are 30 grand a night, crazy money. And we landed in Hawaii. We got a Jeep because that's the thing to do there,
Of course.
We jump in this Jeep.
You got to.
It's just the weather, right? And we start driving, and there were fires were there recently. This is Maui. So it's kind of burned down a little bit still. And we're driving, and I look over, and she's like bawling. I was like, she's like, and the wind's blowing. We got the, sun on us. And I was like, man, this is free. We feel free. It's like just this moment of like appreciation of not, we're on vacation. It wasn't even about the vacation. It was like a moment of getting away from everything.
Right.
Because we've been through so much the last 2 years.
I bet.
And she has been, had my back the whole way, which is vital in these moments, because most women would leave. And it's not because she don't love me, it's right. So much to take on. And she's 38 years old, looks 25, only has one child. Obviously, she doesn't owe any money. I'm the one it's all under me. And I would just tell her, because we had a conversation. I told my wife, I said, it's probably about maybe 2 weeks after I was raided. I said, listen, this is going to be ugly. It's going to be a rough ride here for a while. Mm-hmm. I love you so much. Truly, I love you more than I love myself. So you were, at the time she was 36. I said, you can get any guy you want just on your looks alone. And then if you take away your looks and what kind of woman you are, it's a slam dunk, you know? Guys with money, guys with no money, doesn't matter. And I said, why don't you consider leaving? And I'll tell everybody it's not because of this, and we'll just say, you know, it didn't work out. And I won't badmouth you, of course, right? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I just said, look, man, this is gonna be a lot, you know? And
Yeah.
she didn't waver for a second. And that's when I was like, this is a real relationship. I already knew it was,
Right.
but it was like that moment of glory of like, wow, I chose right here. You know, I really
Yeah.
did. So when we got to Hawaii, I feel like it was our first release of like all this stuff we're going through. Because nobody knows until you're in a federal case what a real federal case looks like.
Right.
You watch it on TV, you think about it, but you know, we had 29 federal agents with guns and a dog, you know, raided us. And then I had my son, I was putting him in her car, and rifles, turned around, FBI freeze, I had 8 AR rifles at my chest. And I was like, okay. And then they went and grabbed her and handcuffed her, pulled her out. They obviously took everything in our home. I mean, cash, jewelry, purses, watches, you name it, it was all gone. And so you feel like just stripped, you know.
Empty.
You really do. And then once they take it all you're doing is fighting back to not only get anything back you can, but for
Right.
your freedom,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
which is more important than all of that, you know, liberty. Because what you said when we first started having this podcast is the most important thing in all of this is your time.
Yeah.
Time is the most precious commodity in the world, along with health, of course.
Right.
That's without being said. But really, if you think about it, time and health are everything that we exist in, what's most important, which everyone takes for granted. And I included, because I've always been healthy and I've always had money to do whatever I wanted and enjoy time.
Right.
But now that is gone. My liberty is gone. So the time I have to choose how I use it and how I spend it.
Right. Right. Right.
And dissecting that down is probably the last 2 years. I've learned to do that better now than I ever have in my life.
Have you thought of it like you kind of took it for granted?
Oh, everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so many things. I'm very humble. I'm still arrogant. I'm still egotistical. I still will be confident. I'll still want material things. I'll chase all of that. And people judge me all the time for that. I don't care.
Right.
Because it's about me. You know, I live my life for me and my family.
Right.
As should you, and as people who watch this should. Of course, you want to have an impact on the world. I mean, those are all things I've learned more in the last 2 years than I ever have. But the reality is I look in the mirror and I want to see the best version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I'll tell you what I've learned the most. The first 48 years of my life, I've been very successful, but the last 2 years, I've grown more than I did the first 48. And you know why?
Why?
Because I ask myself this question almost every day. How do I define success?
Okay.
That is the most important question anyone listening to this can ask themselves. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's a really simple question. What is success for you? Is it a Bentley and a Rolls Royce? Or is it a Pinto and a ticket on a bus ride, but you go home and everyone's healthy and happy, and you live in an apartment, but you have a great life? Or is it, hey, I can have those nice things too, but have that same smile on my face and everyone's healthy? You know, so you got to really break down what it is for you, and then ultimately for your family, because
Yeah.
it starts with you. Because if you're not happy, then they're not, right?
Yeah.
So for me, success has changed drastically, and what I mean by that is, yeah, I still want all the material, financial things, and
Right.
I'll shoot for that. But now success is actually just embracing time.
Right.
Because I wasn't present a lot in the last 5 years. I was chasing this material thing and this gambling addiction and all the high life that I was living, but then you're not even enjoying it. I mean, my wife was so tired of going to Las Vegas on a G550 with caviar, butlers, and stewardess, and walking into a 12,000 square foot room with a pool and 4 butlers, and going to the nicest restaurants in the world,
Right.
and gambling millions of dollars. She was just actually fed up with it, sick of it. And I used to say, well, how could you be sick of this? And of course, I'm a degenerate. I love to gamble, so that drew me in more than anything. But the reality is she was right, because you can still do those things, but what's the cost, and how do you define success?
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot.
You mentioned, the humbling part of things, and we talked about this earlier before we got on, and more so in your book, you talked about, it sounds like even your ex-wife, and you guys have a great relationship, because it's about the kids.
Yep.
Right? Doesn't matter of anything else.
Right.
It's like, let's have that as the most healthiest, because that matters most, right? We talked about it earlier, like money didn't matter. It's all about the kids.
Right.
They're happy, being cordial, whatever it may be. It can be just like, that for the success, right?
Absolutely.
For that part. I think that's pretty awesome. Is there any, at that point, when you're going through this high life of, the glitz, the glamour, the whole deal, that you're like, man, I wish my kids were here with me, or is it more like, okay, I'm gonna carve out time for my kids, but this is my time?
Actually, my kids were with me on a lot of it.
Okay,
Like a lot of it.
that's good memories.
Yeah.
Great memories.
They're very blessed in a sense of they've been everywhere. So I was selfish at times because they couldn't always go because they had to go to school. But when school, like if I could work it around the school, I did. We went, there was one trip, I speak of it in my book. We went to 4 countries: Dominican Republic, Bahamas, US, I'm sorry, 3 countries, but 4 casinos in Foxwoods. And then we went to Vegas. So we actually went to 5 casinos, 2 in the US, 3 outside of it. Oh, Panama. So it was 4 countries. I knew it. So we traveled on a private jet from US. We went to, I'm going to get this order correctly. We went to Dominican Republic, and then we flew to the Bahamas. Then we flew to Panama. Then we flew back to Foxwoods, Connecticut. And then we flew to Vegas. So that trip was with all of my kids. And, again, we're staying at the most extravagant things. We're on our private jet everywhere.
It's awesome.
It was the best family trip, and I wanted all spots, which is beyond, it doesn't even sound believable.
Right.
I lost money gambling over my career, millions and millions and millions. So I want to be clear. But this particular trip, it was like euphoric because I was winning at every spot. Not a lot of money. Sometimes I would lose and then battle back and win 200 and leave, because we had 4 days at Panama, let's call it, or wherever I was. And so every trip I won. And they had, of course, the best experience. So luckily for me, I was able to, being divorced actually was a positive in this situation, because I was able to really try to bring my kids in and spend all that quality time. And then because my relationship with my ex was so good, I would say, all right, it's your time to have them. And then I would go be selfish and go do my thing, and do these other things that are crazy and gamble for a week straight in Vegas and just get nutty and, I never did drugs or anything, but I would, party, go to nightclubs, whatever. I was younger. And so they got to experience a lot, I'm very blessed. But selfishly, I definitely was still being not as present as I should have been, missing a cheer competition or a volleyball game because I chose to go to Vegas instead.
Right.
So I don't want to, I'm not a perfect dad by any means, but I work on it. I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be a perfect person. I try to be a perfect husband. There's no such thing, but as close to as possible. And in the last few years, I've been more present with all of my kids than I ever have in my life.
We all are, right? We're not perfect in by any means. Exactly what you're saying. We could always be better.
Sure.
And exactly what you're talking about, with your wife, like you said it right there, like you can leave me.
Yeah.
And because of all the struggles, all the stuff that's going to come onto you,
right.
Media more than ever, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like you don't want to see her in that limelight because it wasn't her.
No, and she's going to get mudded every which way. I mean, she really wasn't like. It's not like they said too many things about her. It was more about me, but she's married to me, so it's a reflection to her. And then us walking our dogs in our neighborhood and having 14 Japanese reporters with cameras following us around, and the camera's like this far away and I want to bat it away,
Yeah.
And they're actually very polite. The Japanese reporters were the politest, but the California news, they're not so polite.
Huh?
Yeah, not so polite. But anyway, we just had no privacy,
Yeah.
They were even coming on our property, which they're not supposed to, but they don't care because you just say you're going to call the cops, and then
They'll back off
Yeah.
for the time being.
Right. But it's like, man, and my kids go to school. Oh, your dad's the bookie of the Shohei Ohtani scandal.
Right.
So it's just, it affects everybody. And going back to what you said earlier, when I started taking bets, I never foresaw me being one of the largest bookmakers in the country, taking bets from Shohei Ohtani's interpreter or all these professional athletes and celebrities. I just was a kid, and I just started taking bets,
Right.
messing around. It was a hobby. It was fun. And then,
That network grew.
yeah, and because I do have a lot of talents, and I'm very good at networking, and I'm very passionate about my work, and I'm greedy and hungry and, a hustler, I did build it to that.
Right.
But anything I touch, I'm going to do that with. So I just never foresaw it being a business. I foresaw it as a hobby. I was a commodity trader. I had a career. But what happened was I got so tired of being a commodity trader because it was so immoral, even though it was legal, that I went to this illegal side because I felt it was much more moral.
Right.
Which is really a crazy, dynamic, because here you have an illegal business and a legal business, and yet this is the one I felt so much better about.
Right. Right.
And to this day, I don't care what anyone says, it is a better business. I mean, I could argue with anyone about it, and I could explain it 50 different ways, and maybe we'll still disagree, but I think I could sway the entire, most of the population to agree with me when they understand. Because, unless I've never been in your shoes, so I don't know what it's like to run a construction company, so I can't judge you on what you think of this business. I mean, I understand what it is, but I've never ran one, so how could I say you're bad at it or good at it? Or I don't know. Obviously, you're doing well, but I mean, I can't say you're bad at it or you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
I've never been in your shoes, and I've learned a lot about judgment in the last 2 years too, because until you walk in somebody's shoes, you really don't understand what they're going through or why they make some of the poor and good choices.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I feel like sometimes we do make bad decisions.
Right.
And we learn from them.
Sure.
And we grow from them.
Yes.
And I want to ask you this question. It's after reading your book, I'm so fascinated about it, and it's like, how do you trust someone that you may or may not know and say, hey, I'm going to give you $100K line, and say, go at it, baby.
Sure. Yeah.
At what point did how do you make those decisions for your end of it to say, yeah, this guy's good, or yeah, this guy's
Yeah, it's a great question because it's really changed over the last, so obviously I'm going to refer to 2 years ago when I was still in the business, right?
Okay.
As of 2 years ago today, I was flying back, actually today's October 3rd, I was flying back on a private jet from Resorts World, to my home. And then 2 days later I was raided. But I was just on a private plane to the Cowboy Stadium from the casinos and gambling, so it's wild. But anyway, 2 years ago when I was bookmaking was much different than 10 years earlier when I was bookmaking. About how, to answer your question about how I vetted my customers.
Yeah.
Because we spoke about this off camera earlier, the world has changed dramatically. And what I mean by that is honorable people have changed. Just like we were talking about the entitlement of kids.
Yeah.
It's actually worse for the honorable people in general, never mind just kids, adults. The honor system has really depleted, sadly. And I'll tell you, because when I used to give a credit line when I was 25 years old to somebody for $100K, the chances of them not paying me or being a problem were probably, I would say 80% better than if it were today. And I say that because, number one, people today just don't have any honor compared, not people, a lot of people, some always have honor. And back then, the honor was just so much stronger. So I didn't get stiffed or burned nearly as much. And then it started getting worse and worse and worse. And also because now bookmakers are under a little bit more supervision by the federal government, because DraftKings, FanDuel, et cetera, have given a fund to the government to go after illegal bookmakers because they didn't want them all gone. And the pressure of a customer saying, I'm not paying you, and the bookie saying, we have a big problem, I'm threatening you, or whatever happens at that point, they're going to pick up the phone and the FBI is going to be involved, and guess what? Their bookmakers out of business. So whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago, they worried about going in a corner of a back alley and getting their ass beat.
Yeah.
Because it was a little bit more prevalent then. So for those reasons alone, it's changed. To answer your question though, in depth between all of that,
No. Yeah.
if I give 100K to somebody, I vet them by how did they come to me? Who's the referral? What do I know about them? And why are they asking for 100K? Like, what do they want to bet per game? These are all major factors first. And to answer that further, if the referral is strong, if it's somebody, like if you referred me somebody, I know you're a very successful guy, you're a family guy, you're very unlikely to be rolling around with a bunch of losers.
Right.
That's reality.
You're absolutely right.
If I met you at a gas station and you, pulled up in a green Pinto, the odds are maybe you're referring me a $100,000 friend or yourself, maybe a little less likely to pay me. So the requirements are going to be much different for your friend than this gentleman I met at a gas station.
Right.
And so I'm going to say, hey, you want a $100,000 credit line? No problem. You put up $50,000 to somebody I'm questionable about.
Right.
If it's your friend, I'm going to say, what do you know about him? And you're going to say, oh, he's a buddy of mine. His kids go to my school or my kid's school, and great guy, he owns an accounting firm. Done. Give him 100K, no question. Because now I feel much more comfortable. And then, of course, I'm going to monitor the account initially and see if he's betting sharps or professional plays and just make sure he's on board and then kind of watch the action. And then once I see that, then a couple payments back and forth, we're good. We're off and running. And maybe I'll have them I've had some of my guys for 30 years. Some of the same customers that when I was literally rated wanted to write a letter to my judge to say how great of a bookmaker I was. And I was like, well, that's not really going to help me, but thank you.
Yeah.
And they've lost a lot of money to me. And they're like, I'm just bummed you're not able to book anymore. I want to bet with you. You're the best bookie I've ever had, which is a compliment. But, the point is, it wasn't so taboo.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get a license, and I couldn't do it legally here in California.
Yeah, this state has its
Issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll just leave it as that.
Yes. Yeah.
When you took bets, what was the largest that you've taken going, ooh, yeah, I don't know, bud, or you've kind of said, game on, let's go.
Sadly, it should have been, I don't know, bud, more often. You read my book. I think you realize I'm more of a game on guy.
Yeah.
But which is good and bad, right? Game on is like, I'm not really afraid to take any wager. The problem is I shouldn't be saying game on if I can't afford the bankroll of the wager, which happened to me which I talk about in here when I was like 25.
Yeah.
I ran out of funds. These guys beat me for 5.7 million. And
on one game?
No, it was over about a 8-week period. It was during a football season. So, I was 25 years old and I was making very good money, but I wasn't making nearly what I was making 2 years ago when I was busted.
Yeah.
I wasn't close to that. So to lose 5.7 million, and the reason I know the number is because I called my website and I had to find out how much these guys would beat me for, because it was week after week after week. It was because they kept betting on Tom Brady. And, this is back when he was like not so well known, but just starting to win a lot.
Yeah.
They were just destroying every team they played and went over. So everyone was winning. And I had the worst season ever of bookmaking. And so I ran out of money, and then I had to borrow money, and then I took money out of my house, and then eventually I had to go to other people to get the money. Point being is, that's the time I should have had a temperature check and said, you know what, $600,000 on random Sunday NFL game, let's cut it to 300, So I really didn't have any temper for telling people no. Because as long as I felt you were going to pay, I would take it.
Right.
Because the other theory for me was, I'm such a big degenerate gambler myself that I'm going to go fire and bet big. I would rather take it than lay it, because I'm the one who has to lay minus 110 if I make the bet. But taking it, I get 110 on my side, the juice, right? So even if I'm right or wrong, at least the odds are better for me. Mm-hmm. And so I would rather take it than make it, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And at what point of that, you look at it, my assumption is, just from reading the book, like majority of the time you're rolling.
Yeah.
Things are just working in your favor.
Sure.
Right. And it's just one of those things, like, do you go, oh man, should I continue this with the next big, let's call it whales? Or do I like my pool of guys that just, like you said, the guy's been with you for 30 years,
Consistent.
Yeah, exactly. less stress.
Right.
It's easy and it's manageable.
Right.
Versus to, okay, let's take on five more new ones.
Sure. Big
or 10
clients.
more. Right.
I mean, looking back, what I should have is just tempered my own gambling down, because I always could have handled those guys. It's actually my own self, inflictions that hurt me more than them.
Yeah.
Because I knew in the long run that them being these whales, whoever, would lose, because they couldn't beat me over time. It's impossible. Because if you were sharp, I'd cut you off anyway. So really, I had the edge. So if you play with me at least 2 or 3 seasons, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So why do I need to go take $2 million, $3 million to Las Vegas and put myself in a bad position to where I can't pay these guys, or I have to go borrow money to pay these guys when I get home? But I still tended to do that. So I actually would just change that part. As far as taking on the new business and taking a little more risk, that was easy, no brainer. I would do that all over again and more.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was in the right business,
Right.
It'd be no different than you saying, hey, all of a sudden you're getting all this business here, right? And you need to build 10 shopping malls, and maybe I don't know your business, but maybe you need a little extra funding for that. Well, you'll probably go find it, because you're going to make money in all 10 shopping malls.
Right.
And this is business you don't want to turn away to somebody else. So that's kind of the way I view that. The difference is you're not going to go buy 10 new Ferraris and 10 properties for yourself if you're using your funds for this new venture that is going to make.
Yeah.
You're going to hold off on that stuff. I chose not to. I chose to still go get the Ferrari and still do all these things, because I just I don't know. I think sometimes I self-sabotage myself. Not on purpose, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
But it's all because I love to gamble so much.
Right.
The high life, I love being in Vegas, and I loved, putting my balls on the line. Like the dopamine rush I enjoyed of putting myself in a pickle.
Yeah.
And digging out of it. And it's kind of why I'm sadly enjoying this process that I'm going through. Like, I hate it, but I enjoy it.
Right.
Because I know where it's going to lead me. I know where it's changing me. It's evolving me. And without that suck, as David Goggins calls it, you just don't really get to understand and appreciate what you're building and where you're going and your journey.
Right. So, okay, let's say we're going to play this out. If I say, okay, Matt, I want to bet on the Eagles, and, $100,000, and I lose. Mm-hmm. Do I just say, hey, Matt, let's go meet at Starbucks. Here's a sack of cash. Boom, we're done. Or is it like, let me double or nothing? Will you allow that? What's your take? Or you kind of like, you want to just take on and say, hey, you know what? Let's resolve each bet, clear those out, and let's start fresh again. Or do you kind of say, okay, well, we can continue this for 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks or whatever it may be?
All those parameters would be nailed down up front. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't be any, middle of the week negotiation.
Yeah.
So I would say to you, Wilson, you can bet $100,000 a game, no problem. I'll give you $1 million credit line. But
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, I trust you. But on Sunday night, the games are over.
Yeah.
So on Sunday night, if you owe me $600,000 or I owe you $600,000, we're paying each other. And there's no doubling down. It's a new week. And even if you won on Monday night and I don't see you till Wednesday, you're still paying me what you owe me from the previous week, or I'm paying you, because that's how it works. It's a week-to-week, transaction, and I need to also know what that week is, because I have to move the money around the country. I was moving roughly $5 to $7 million throughout the United States and even other, Hong Kong and Australia. I had a few clients. So to move the money around, I need to know what I owe you or you owe me, so I can count on the movement. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because I would move money based on what you say you're going to do and how you're going to pay it. So to answer your question back to the Starbucks, of course I prefer that you to come pay me at Starbucks, because it's less transactional things I need to do through the global system.
Yeah.
But most people, I don't know about you, but most people aren't sitting on $2 million in cash. They have the money, you have the money in the bank, but it's not sitting in cash. And of course, that's become a much harder process now. You can't just walk into B of A and say, I want $2 million in cash.
Oh, they'll have you fill out a form these days. I think it was over
Form.
5K.
They'll bend you over,
Yeah.
and they'll put a temperature up your rear and say, I need a financial colonoscopy. Wilson, what is this for? Why are you pulling this out?
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous, actually. This is your money, and you should be able to go, if you choose to, put it up a stripper's butt. because that's your choice. Not that you would do that, and neither would I, but it doesn't matter. If you go light it on fire when you walk out of the bank, that's your money.
Right, right.
But it's not that way. So cash is a little harder now, much harder, I should say. But that's why crypto has become a big play in this world. And I've been out of it for 2 years now, but I still know how it works and obviously what's going on. But the cash part would be better for a bookmaker because it's just less movement. But again, everyone's different. So you might say, if you're a client of mine, you say, you know what, I prefer Venmo. Well, $1 million, I can't Venmo you.
Oh, yeah.
But $8,000, no problem. I'll just get you $8,000 in Venmos, Apple Pay, Cash App, PayPal, crypto, wire transfers, cars, jewelry, watches.
Oh, you'll take trades.
Oh, I do. I would take anything. I've taken cars. I've taken many watches, diamonds, whatever. I mean, because as a bookmaker, your job is to facilitate and provide a service. And if they can't pay you in other formats, you got to find other measures
Of collateral that makes the monetary value.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't prefer that, of course, when I was a bookmaker, but
Right.
if someone owes me $300,000 and they don't have any money, but yet they have a comic book collection that's worth $300,000, I'm gonna ask for it. Yeah, because it's still worth $300,000.
I mean, yeah, there's value there, but I mean, at the same time, you look at it, you go, well, if you owed someone else $200,000, you're like, well, that $300,000 didn't get me nowhere. I mean, I got comics, great. Let me look at Spider-Man, but I still owe this guy $200,000. If that was the case,
Right.
It becomes a little bit harder because then now you have to go sell that,
Correct.
to get that money,
Right.
before
And you're never gonna get what it's really worth anyway. But at the end of the day, it all works out because everyone's going to lose over time.
True.
So
House always wins, right?
it does, and it's true. I mean, very few people win. Even the ones that do are sharp and professionals, and you're cutting them off. So my system and my book, no one ever really won over time. I mean, I had a few people that actually did win, but it's pure luck.
Yeah.
And it didn't last. So if I gotta pay some guy $200,000 and I gotta pick up $300,000 in comic books, fine. I'm gonna get the $200,000 from this guy anyway back.
Yeah.
And this comic book collection, I'll sell at my own time or leisure, or maybe I'll hold it, give it to my kids one day or whatever.
Right.
So that's the way I viewed it. You can't look at it the way you described it because every client is a different person and a different transaction. As long as you have the liquidity in the bankroll, which of course I struggle with the first 15 years of my life because I'm a degenerate gambler and I would not keep enough money at times because I was so consumed with my gambling. But as I got older, you get wiser and you have more money.
Yeah.
And of course, then I had serious people gambling with me that now the money that I'm moving around is drastically different. I'm taking $1 million on, I bet 4.6 million, as I told you, on one game myself. I mean, how many people have done that? That tells you there's something wrong with it.
That's some balls.
Yeah, well, and stupidity too, but I'm okay with that because I chose that. I got lucky and I won, but let's be real, I ended up losing it all back at Resorts World and more. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it didn't matter if I won or lost. I was going to lose it, but I chose to do that because that's what made my dopamine rush, my fix, get going. I wanted to bet as much as I could.
At what point did you meet Ipe? Like,
I met him September of 2021.
and at that point, was he one of those guys that you kind of like, okay, I need to monitor you first? Before.
Not at all, actually. It was quite the opposite. He got a tiny account, 1,000 a game.
That's what he wanted.
Yeah, that's what he asked for. And I was like, I didn't even care. I just threw it on my website. It was like an ant.
Yeah.
Not to call somebody an ant, but I mean, as far
Right.
grand scheme of players. And so I didn't even look at it until the FBI. I didn't even know what his first bet was until I had to look at his account when the FBI took all his records. And I was like, oh, it was a Turkish soccer game. I had no idea of that until literally I was raided. And what I mean by that, of course, I started monitoring his account later, but I never even looked at his account for the first 3 weeks probably, because he went from 8,000 credit line to $40,000 credit line to 300, and it wasn't until I hit $300,000 when I was like, okay, this has come to
The alarms sounded.
yeah, this is now my account, because it was under one of my friends who's an agent for me. So, and you understand how that works, right? The agent. So it was his account. I still let him have the account, but I need to now take it over. I'm dealing with eBay directly.
Yeah, because at that point, your agent can't bankroll a situation like that, or could he?
They never do anyway. So
Okay.
the agent, I'll give you an example. You have one of your friends, and he says, "Hey, I have 10 players. I own a car dealership, and they all want to play." So those 10 players would come to my platform, and your friend, in this example, I would give him a cut of all 10 players. But I bankroll. This is how I scaled my business.
I see what you're saying.
So I bankroll the operation, but he gets 10, 20, 30, up to 50%, depending on how involved he is, of all 10 players' losses. But if they win $10 million, he doesn't lose a dollar. But he's going to work for free. He's going to be facilitating a lot of money from me to them.
Yeah.
But that won't happen because I will never allow that because I know what I'm doing. But that's how that worked. And that's how I scaled my business. Wilson, my thing was fine tune it, sponge, never mind bookmaking.
Right.
Anything in life, right? You teach your kids this, I know you do, I could tell by talking to you. Sponge, learn from somebody who's successful and figure out what they're doing. And then you can make it your own, because that's what I do best, right? If you make pizzas and it's the best pizzas in Sacramento, then okay, I want to learn how to make the pizzas that Wilson makes. And then if I want to change it at all to make it more me, I'll do that later. But let me just figure out what the hell he's doing because he's very good at it. And so I did that, and then I learned to teach my agents to be me. And then they could still fine tune it, make it their own way, whatever, but scale the operation by doing that. And I just took it throughout the country. And by getting everybody, a lot of golf, memberships, a lot of golfers gamble, more of, let's be honest, you have a golf membership and it's $3,000 a month and $200,000 to join a golf club, they're most likely wealthier people. So I would send my agents to golf memberships, and I wouldn't even pay for it. I said, I'm going to pay for your golf membership. It's a lot of money. I'm spending quite a bit of money, $6,000 a month or whatever, $3,000, depending on the membership.
Right.
But you're going to go get players.
But the return's going to be greater.
Of course.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend the money otherwise, right?
Right.
So I just learned how to scale it.
Okay.
And my point is, whatever I did in my life, I tried to sponge, learn from people who are better than me. I've never been the smartest guy in the room. I try to be the second smartest or the third. But more importantly, I'm going to hire or learn from the smartest person. And I think that really translates to anything in life.
Yeah.
If I were to come work here, I would find out who the smartest people are in each particular area, you being the first, the owner, and then I'm going to learn every part of this business. So that if I go home to Orange County and I want to start a construction company, now I've learned from Wilson and 10 other employees in different departments, and I can go run a construction company.
Right.
Yeah.
And once you had that account set up with ePay, did you at any point go, once you found out who the person behind all this is, right, supposedly,
sure,
that you're like, okay, it's like I said earlier, game on, or
absolutely. The minute I found out, well, first of all, once he wired me $300,000, then immediately he has credibility. I don't care where it came from. I didn't even ask, didn't care.
Because you got the funds.
I got paid. And to be honest with you, I've had people you would look at and where they worked, you would never think they could afford to pay what they were paying me.
But they did.
Absolutely.
110%.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I had a guy that worked at Mercedes-Benz. Okay, he was a service cars at Mercedes-Benz. I swear to you, he might have lost $100,000 a year for 5 years straight. I don't even know how much he makes a year, but it can't be more than maybe 150. I don't know, 200,000.
Yeah, no way.
At the most. I mean, this is in Newport Beach, California. But the point is,
yeah,
if he's paying me 100, and he makes, just say for argument's sake, 180.
Yeah.
For taxes, that's 130 at best. So I don't know.
What do you can't live off 30.
No.
Especially in Newport Beach.
No, I mean, so anyway, but he paid and I never asked any questions and it's not my business.
True.
If he sells drugs or if he's a stripper or if he's on Fans Only, I don't know what the hell he does. It doesn't matter. Maybe he takes pictures of the feet. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's not my job. My job is to make sure he'll pay me and provide a service, and my job is to pay him when he wins. So back to ePay. I didn't know and didn't care and never asked. And when the federal government released all of the text messaging, which is, you can go Google it and see it, or there's a website, you'll see all of our texts until the very last text message that he and I have It's, hey man, this is me. Hey man, I know it's a cover up. And he says, this is the weird part. Technically, I screwed up. Well, the word technically to me means there's a little more to the story.
Right.
But I didn't ask because it's not my business. You know, I threw it out there. You know, I do believe to this day that Shohei Ohtani never made any wagers. But I want to go back to when I found out Shohei Ohtani was sending the money, or his bank account was.
Yeah.
The third wire transfer after getting 300,000, then 500,000, and then 500,000. So finally I get a phone call because remember, I'm debanked. I don't have a bank account that's at Chase or Wells Fargo anymore because I've been thrown out everywhere. One of my beards, I call him, that's a beard is someone who receives things and does things for me. He calls me and says, hey man, I just got this wire. It's from Shohei Ohtani. I'm like, okay, interesting. But that's great for me. I have the best athlete in the world who definitely is not going to worry about paying me. And now that he's paid me $1.3 million, because of course we went and looked at the other two wires and they were Shohei Ohtani, this is great. I'm just going to sit back and get paid. And I went and logged in the account. It was already maxed out. It was down another million, whatever. He asked me for more extensions. I think he owed me like $1.5 million or $2 million. So I'm like, the way this guy bets, he's never going to win. So what do? I just did exactly what he asked me to do. Raise it again. And I just kept getting wires. Never asked questions.
Because he owned it of like, hey, I lost. I owe you.
He made fun of himself.
Right.
Literally. I mean, he would, like, as a lot of gamblers do, right? You've gambled in your life and you just can't win sometimes. And you're just like, fuck, I suck at this.
Yeah.
Or these dealers terrible, or that this guy I bet on, Brett Favre, sucks today, you know, or whatever the excuse is. Or you blame the referee, or we all have our, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've been through that, definitely.
So that was what he was doing. He was just like, oh, I'm so bad at this. Hey, can you give me another $1 million? Sure. Can you send me 500,000 next week? Yeah, okay, no problem, you got it. And he's very honorable. He paid every time he said he could. So
why question it?
Yeah. And here we are, you know, once the feds come and I get raided, I thought they were there for Shohei Ohtani being the betting with my website or ePay or whoever it was, because I still didn't know. Truly, had no idea.